What goes through the mind of a killer kid when they're told they'll spend the rest of their life behind bars? Life sentences for juveniles are among the most severe punishments, and the reactions can range from heart-wrenching sobs to cold, unshaken silence. Imagine being barely a teenager and facing a lifetime locked away. How does someone cope with that reality? Some of the youngest individuals ever sentenced to life were just 12 or 13 years old, raising complex questions about justice, the potential for rehabilitation, and society's responsibilities toward these kids. Research also reveals a wide spectrum of responses. While some juvenile offenders break down in tears, overwhelmed by the gravity of their sentence, others show defiance or remain eerily composed, leaving courts and observers stunned. In this video, we dive deep into the raw, real reactions of these killer kids receiving life sentences. We'll unravel their emotional journeys, the intense courtroom moments, and the aftermath of facing a childhood stolen by incarceration. Stick around to hear stories that challenge how we view justice, punishment, and redemption in our society. A life sentence for a juvenile offender means they face spending the majority, if not all, of their lives behind bars for crimes committed as minors. There are two main types: life with parole, where the individual becomes eligible for release after serving a certain number of years, and life without parole, meaning no chance of release. The latter is the harshest penalty and often sparks intense legal and ethical debates. In recent decades, courts, especially in the United States, have grappled with whether juveniles should receive life without parole sentences. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in cases like Miller v. Alabama, 2012, that mandatory life without parole for juveniles violates the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. This decision emphasized that judges must consider the offender's age, maturity, and potential for change before imposing such sentences. Globally, sentencing laws vary widely. Some countries take a more rehabilitative approach, focusing on youth offenders' potential for growth and reintegration. For example, many European nations rarely impose life sentences on juveniles and prioritize rehabilitation. Conversely, several U.S. states and countries with tough-on-crime policies still impose life without parole on juveniles, sparking ongoing controversy. The purpose of sentencing juvenile offenders is to strike a delicate balance between holding them accountable, protecting society from dangerous individuals, and offering chances for rehabilitation and reform. This balance is difficult to achieve given the unique psychological and developmental factors affecting young offenders. Psychologically, life sentences can have devastating effects on juveniles. Being confined for decades during formative years can stunt emotional and social development. Many juveniles struggle with hopelessness, depression, and identity loss. The prospect of spending a lifetime imprisoned often leads to mental health crises, underscoring the critical need for thoughtful sentencing and ongoing psychological support within the justice system. When juvenile offenders first hear they are being sentenced to life in prison, the courtroom often becomes a stage for intense and raw emotions. These moments are deeply revealing, showing a wide range of reactions that speak to the complex psychological states of these young individuals facing a lifetime behind bars. Some juveniles react with shock and disbelief, unable to fully grasp the gravity of the sentence at first. Tears often follow as the reality sinks in, revealing a deep sense of fear, regret, or overwhelming sadness. Others respond with anger or defiance, lashing out verbally or physically, a defense mechanism to mask their vulnerability. A few display a chilling calmness, detached, almost as if resigned or disconnected from the moment. This unsettling composure can reflect denial or an internal struggle to process what their future holds. One high-profile case that drew global attention involved a teenage offender who was sentenced to life without parole. When the sentence was pronounced, instead of breaking down, the young defendant sat quietly, staring blankly ahead. Psychologists and legal experts later suggested this reaction indicated a complex mix of denial and emotional numbness, common among those who face overwhelming trauma and isolation. This reaction gave insight into the offender's mental state, one shaped by fear, confusion, and perhaps a lack of full understanding of the consequences. Judges often show a mix of stern professionalism and empathy during sentencing, recognizing the delicate nature of dealing with juveniles. Family members, on the other hand, display a wide spectrum of emotions, from heartbreak and disbelief to frustration and sometimes anger at the justice system. For parents and relatives, the moment can feel like the end of hope. Yet some cling to the belief in eventual rehabilitation. Defense attorneys play a crucial role in preparing young defendants for sentencing. They strive to help juveniles understand the legal process and potential outcomes, attempting to cushion the emotional blow while advocating for the possibility of mercy or parole. Counselors and psychologists sometimes assist in this preparation, aiming to support the juvenile's mental well-being as they face one of the most daunting moments of their lives. These courtroom reactions provide a humanizing lens on a grim reality, revealing how juvenile offenders grapple with their fate, sometimes in ways that defy easy explanation or expectation. For juveniles sentenced to life with parole, the path forward can be complicated and uncertain. Parole boards often weigh factors like behavior, rehabilitation efforts, and the nature of the original crime. But the stigma of a life sentence can make release extremely difficult. Re-entry into society after decades away presents enormous challenges, including rebuilding relationships, finding employment, and overcoming the social stigma attached to their crimes. The impact on families and communities is profound and lasting. Families may experience ongoing trauma, isolation, and financial hardship, while communities grapple with the social consequences of lost youth and the complexities of justice and forgiveness. The practice of sentencing juveniles to life imprisonment remains highly controversial. Critics argue that decades behind bars for children denies the possibility of growth and redemption, while supporters claim it protects society and delivers justice for severe crimes. The debate continues as courts and lawmakers wrestle with how to balance accountability and compassion in these difficult cases. The emotional reactions of juvenile offenders facing life sentences reveal the deep complexity of juvenile crime and the ongoing debate about lifelong punishment. These moments, whether shock, defiance, or remorse, highlight how young minds grapple with the weight of their actions and the consequences they face. Understanding these responses is crucial for shaping a more compassionate and effective juvenile justice system, one that balances the hope for rehabilitation with the necessity of accountability. Juvenile offenders are still developing emotionally and psychologically, which means their capacity for change is significant. Yet society must also protect victims and uphold justice. These conflicting needs make juvenile sentencing a delicate, often controversial issue. By closely examining how these youths react to life sentences, lawmakers, courts, and communities can better tailor interventions that promote growth without compromising safety. Ultimately, each reaction is more than a courtroom moment. It's a glimpse into a young life forever altered by choices, crime, and the justice system's response. Recognizing the humanity behind these stories challenges us to rethink what justice and redemption truly mean for children condemned to live with the consequences for life. What's your take on sentencing kids to life? Do you think it serves justice, or is it too harsh for young offenders? We want to hear your thoughts and any cases you know about, so drop a comment below. If this video gave you a new perspective, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated with more deep dives into real-life stories and the justice system. Your voice matters in this important conversation. Let's keep it going.